Alex. So good to see you guys in the middle of 2020. How are you guys today?
Doing well. It's good to see you too.
Yeah, doing well.
Yeah, well, let's go back to 2019 and the Changemaker Challenge. Tell us about how you first found out about it.
Well, we kind of found out about it through UE because we were involved with the previous Changemaker challenges when they were at the college level, and then heard about the community one and thought it sounded fun.
And for the 2019 version, which I guess we should explain to everybody that Alex wasn't actually your partner for the initial project, but he's going to come into play a little bit later. So who was your partner for the initial project?
So I started the project with Hannah Jaramillo, and then she later left the project, and then Alex came in.
So when you and Hannah were sitting back in 2019, found out about the community version of the Changemaker Challenge, did you already have the idea in mind, or did that sort of spring or spark you all in wanting to put together an idea?
You could say that we had lots of ideas in mind.
Okay.
The challenge was more combining those and figuring out an idea that captured those ideas and also worked for the challenge.
Yeah.
A little bit of both.
So how difficult then was it to land on just one, and the one that you ultimately put forward?
Yeah, that took about a month at least.
Wow.
That was pretty hard. That was a lot of brainstorming, conversations, throwing out other ideas that didn't work or maybe might work in the future, and then finally settling on one.
Can you give a quick summary of kind of what the idea was and how you were presenting it to communities and neighborhoods, and maybe how it's still being presented in those opportunities?
Yeah. So the idea is to create human-sized E's, so roughly 6 feet tall, about 4 feet wide, 6 foot E's that people can stand next to, and take selfies. So the title of the project is Self-E, and put them in various locations around Evansville with different cultural significance. And with these, educate people when they're in this area, the different historical aspects of it and the different things that make it unique, and in the broader picture, Evansville. So that is the physical E part. In addition to that, there's a broader social media campaign with it.
Yeah, the idea is to connect the virtual publicity with the in-person publicity. So while we have these E's seen in place at location, we'll also tie them into social media, online, and really make these locations more of a hotspot area where people can connect with it on multiple levels, where they can really get the full idea of what that area is about, how it contributes to Evansville, what its history is, what its culture is.
So this process saw a lot of different submissions from people all over the community, and then you were able to get to kind of a second stage where you got to sort of engage with people and pitch and ask questions at Innovation Point. Tell us a little bit about that night and that version, or excuse me, that stage of the competition. What was that like?
So pitching to potential investors and judges was fairly stressful, but also fun at the same time. You had to really think about how your idea fit into the context of a community and how it would fit into the context of investors. There are so many really, really great ideas out there, but at that point, they're just ideas. They don't become something tangible until you do have that funding as a backing, as well as we're finding out, people to back you as well. So you have to convert your idea into a form that you can share with others, and also put it into a pitch and something that you can easily communicate.
Well, the fact that we're talking to you guys right now sort of spoils, the ending of whether or not you got through that semifinal round, which you did, obviously, and you guys were one of 4 final teams to pitch at the WNIN studios downtown, in front of live judges, filmed in a stage with all sorts of cameras. Tell us about that night and that experience. How did that feel?
That night was pretty exhilarating. By that point, we knew we'd gotten through to the finals. We didn't know that we were funded or if we would be funded yet, but just making it to that point and being able to share the idea with people was a gift in and of itself. And then when we found out the results, obviously we were ecstatic that we got funding as well.
Yeah. Well, and so when you got those results, even before you got those results or in that process, the judges gave you all some feedback and asked questions. Do you remember any specific questions from the judges that were especially helpful?
One of their first questions was about the budget. I do remember that. And that wasn't necessarily a new idea for us. Obviously, we had to think about the budget a lot. But what that did help us know was that the budget has to be a main point of our conversation. That taught us that that's the first thing that people are going to ask about, and that even if you've already mentioned the budget, it's still going to be a question. Like, you still have to come back to how are you going to make this feasible? And feasibility in general was brought more to the forefront of conversations after that.
Mm. And for that competition, there was a financial incentive and a prize or a pool of prize money that was going to be awarded. Did you guys have a dollar amount that you had specifically asked for?
No, we didn't. We had pitched the E's to be from within a several $1,000s range, and we asked for help to get started. So that's a pretty broad ask. Unlike other teams, we just kind of asked for it. If we were going to go through the process again, I think I might be a bit more specific.
But for this process, you did go for it with that sort of more loose ask to get started, and you were awarded with a dollar amount.
Yes, so we were awarded the funding, but it was with the caveats that we found an artist and that we had a group to do our first project with. So
let's fast forward then to right after the exhilaration of realizing that you've won a financial prize with this and you've got the wherewithal to move forward. What were some of those first next steps? And then let us know how Alex got involved in this as well.
Well, so honestly, right after that, we were exhausted, so we took a break.
Yeah.
And around that time, Hannah left the project, and I'd already been planning to ask Alex if he wanted to help. But then he eventually officially came on board the project, and after we kind of got done rejuvenating, went forward and thought of designs and began thinking of potential partners and contacting them.
And what was the time frame for when this was happening? So if I remember right, the project sort of wrapped near the end of summer, the competition wrapped near the end of the summer last year. You guys took some time to rejuvenate. So are we into 2020 yet when some of this bringing Alex in began, or was this still 2019?
No, this was about a week after the competition ended.
Oh, okay. So that your rest period was a week. Okay, gotcha.
Well, then we were a little slow to start up, but yeah, he came on board pretty much right after the competition, and then from that point forward, just really started just thinking of designs, and he started drawing them up, and then we started emailing people and all that.
So where did it go next, and kind of what is the state of it as of now? And have you guys had to adjust anything based on the social distancing and quarantine, restrictions that we've all been struggling with in 2020?
You want to talk to that?
Yeah. So the next step was figuring out some potential organizations or people that we could partner with, locations that they could go and some designs with them. Part of it was explaining what they were, what their function was, and to do so, it helped to have some pictures and drawings that explain this one can go here, this is what we're thinking, and it would be tailored differently for your specific area or for your specific organization. So next step was coming up with different organizations and people that would be interested in the projects and that would be good locations. And then in addition to that, coming up with designs for them. And
then 2020 happened. So how did that be an obstacle for your all's progress moving forward?
So we had four or five main areas that we're looking at. We had two main areas. One of them has been difficult communication-wise to get in touch with them. The second one, we had good communication with, had a plan to create one, and the event that we were planning on designing it for has been canceled.
Yeah,
So
we actually had like prototypes made, and we're talking with the people who are going to manufacture it.
Oh, wow.
And we're almost to the point of signing and creating it, and new things were happening, and there was a good chance that it was going to be canceled, so we didn't move forward with the construction, and the event has since been canceled.
So that ended up being the prudent move in that case.
Yeah,
It did.
so it's kind of back to the drawing board now, and seeing who is interested and see how we can move forward on the first E.
Yeah, I think one of the main things we've noticed is that everyone, well, in general, with these types of innovative projects, people can often be hesitant in order to back them or say, oh yes, we want one in the first place. And if anything, 2020 has amplified that 500 times more, which understandably, there's no complaint, that's just our situation. No one would say, yeah, we want a $5,000 object right now.
Interesting. So with that in mind, and some of the uncertainty with the necessary partner organizations and businesses that you were planning on working with, does it seem like the whole project is on hold, or are you guys still having plans to move things forward right now in the summer of 2020?
I would say that the tangible part of the project is definitely on hold because, like we said, we did reach out and have really good connections with a few different organizations. And obviously we only have so much funding, so we don't want to keep throwing out lines and getting potential hits and connections if we can't first fulfill those obligations we've already set in place. Yeah, now it's just kind of a waiting game to see how our partners will react and what they'll want to do.
And really what you guys were looking at creating is something that would last for a generation or multiple generations. This is a long-term sustainable physical recognition of a neighborhood or a community or really our whole city. And so being delayed due to coronavirus is not necessarily the death knell for this project. There's a project that was designed to last for a long time anyway and can be picked up at an appropriate time in the future.
Yeah, we don't really want to rush places right now. I mean, everyone's got plenty to think about, and this is something that was designed to still be there, and it will still be there whenever things are a bit more back to normal.
Yeah. Well, as you guys know, we talked about earlier, we're changing some of the aspects of the Changemaker Challenge this year in light of what we've heard and believed are helpful resources to give to potential idea generators. And you had talked about how getting the funding wasn't necessarily, the biggest part. It's more about being connected to organizations and the community and people who can move the idea forward. So with that in mind, what advice would you give to a potential change maker for this year's competition?
I've got two things in mind. The first thing would probably be to have a vision and stick to it and make sure that your vision is heard. So having a vision is great, but if you don't communicate it well, if you don't think it through well, if you don't plan it, it's still just a vision. You have to take those extra steps in order to put it into reality. And the second thing that I was thinking of is look for help in the places where you wouldn't think to look for it in the first place. So
that's great.
Help can come from anywhere, and just because you may hear a name or an organization or something thrown out there, sometimes that's really not connected. That may not be the case, or you may merge and make something even cooler.
For me, it would be don't be afraid to reach out to people, kind of along those lines that there's lots of different people out there with different interests, and you never know how they can help. And then also generally you can have a great idea, but that doesn't mean everyone else is going to believe that, or everyone else is going to immediately act upon it like you would like them to. So don't be afraid to reach out to multiple people, and often there's varying degrees of shyness within everyone, and typically when it comes to this, you don't know the people that you're going to be reaching out to. You might be connected to them, but oftentimes it's, I know this organization, I don't know anyone at it, and you just end up calling the organization, going through a wild goose chase to figure out the person you're actually supposed to be talking to. So don't be afraid to just jump in there and start reaching out to people and see what sticks.
For folks who are interested in your story and this project, is there a good place online where you guys have a website or social media or some way that folks can stay engaged with the progress as you guys move forward into 2021 and beyond?
We're currently building it, so stay tuned.
Okay, all right. So we will be looking for the Self-E. Is that still the name of the project, SELF-E?
Potentially changing in the future to Discover E.
Oh, interesting. You heard it here first, folks. Well, we'll do our part to spread that word when it comes out again as well. So again, congratulations on winning a financial award last year, and the journey that you guys have been on, and appreciate the vision that you all have committed to and stuck to and pivoted off of appropriately to get it to exist in our community, and looking forward to seeing what happens next.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.